Warning, Prospect Watch is not your average hockey podcast, and that's okay with us. Our goal is to introduce you to stars in the making from all over the world. They may not be household names yet, but we assure you they will be soon enough. Welcome to Prospect Watch.
Hi guys, welcome back to Prospect Watch, a podcast that focuses solely on the discovery and promotion of some of the best young talent in the game today from all reaches of the world. As always, I'm your host Lance Green, and sitting in with me today, as always, is my co-host Steel. Steel, how are you?
How you doing, Lance? I'm doing great. Oh man, I tell you what, I'm excited about this one. What do you think?
I think so. We're going to do something a little bit different here as the draft is looming closer for some of these teams that are now getting rid of players and everything like that, trying to dump assets to be able to get more draft stock. We're going to start looking at some of these players, but we're going to do a little bit of a series here on starting with the top 5 centers from the 2023 NHL Entry Draft, which is going to happen on June 28th and 29th of this year.
Exactly.
All right. This is going to be the first of many. We're going to cover all positions, wings, defense, goaltending, and bring you some names that you should be looking at, right? Some are going to be obvious, and then, as we go on, some you may not have heard from before or about before. So
exactly.
You ready? We'll get started here, Steel. I'm ready.
Let's dive on into this big pool here. And just like Lance said, I mean, Lance has even written articles about a lot of the prospects, maybe not some of the ones that we're going to talk about today, but a lot of the prospects that we have on the show. Lance usually writes an article or has written an article about a lot of these folks. And it's just like Lance said, we're going to do a series. We want to focus in on the top 5 of each position out there. So this first one's going to be for centers. And I think this one is probably going to be the most obvious one.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Just because of the names that we're gonna talk about on this list, I think these is probably some of the most obvious ones of all of the NHL draft that's going to happen here in June. And so we figured, well, let's start with the centers because most teams need to have good starting centers for all 4 lines. Right.
Yep.
And this year is a marquee year for generational talent, I think, that's going to happen for this draft year in 2023.
I think it's definitely a deep draft, and especially at center. We do. I think we are due to see a lot of centers go off the board in the first round for sure.
That's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking that we're probably going to see, maybe not all of them are going to be centers. Some of them might be wingers / centers or something like that, or just listed as a forward or,
right,
you know what I mean? Something like that. But I'm with you. I think we're going to see a lot of that jumping off the board. And just to keep us on the level, we're going to start at number 5 and work our way up to number 1. What do you think?
I like that. So before we do that, then let me talk about a guy that didn't quite make my list, and I don't think he made yours.
No.
But kind of a late round, first round pick, I believe he will be. But a guy that teams that are definitely getting deep into the playoffs, and they're looking for somebody that's going to be a go-to player that they can draft and can come in really quick and make some success and make the team within a year or two, I think would be Callum Ritchie. Now, he plays for the OHL's Oshawa Generals. He is one of my favorite players to watch in the OHL this year. I think if the depth of the centers weren't so in depth this year in this draft, he would definitely be higher ranking. He's 18 years old. He's 6'2", 187 pounds. He's from Canada. He shoots right. And as of right now, he's got 48 games played in the OHL, 21 goals, 27 assists for 48 points, and he's a +3. Now, as far as NHL goes, I think he's going to be able to get there sooner rather than later. He's got an NHL body already.
I was just going to say that'll translate. Yeah.
Right. He likes beating and banging. He uses it to get into the spots that he needs to. He doesn't look like, he needs too much more time at this level, at the OHL level. You know what I mean? And I think that, it's going to be a steal for somebody in the later round of the first round. And, I think projecting him in the future in the NHL, I think he has the makings of a solid number 2 or number 3 center.
And see, we're all for that, right? We like those guys. We like to see those guys that are good starting players. You know what I mean?
Right.
You might not necessarily be that quote unquote generational talent. You might not necessarily be that guy that's hanging from the rafters, but you're one of those guys that's counted on every single night to make those key important defensive zone draws or power play draws or whatever the case is. I mean, not only do you have to be a good center as well, but I think you also have to be good in the face-off dot, because in all aspects of hockey, that's almost like the center hiking the ball to the quarterback. If that exchange doesn't happen in a good manner and your team doesn't gain possession on that opportunity, it's liking to like what they do in basketball, right? The tip drill, where they throw the ball up in the beginning of the game and then whoever gets the ball first, you know what I mean? So that's kind of like what I attune that to, you know what I mean? But that's a very key overlooked skill, I think. A lot of these scouts and a lot of the talking heads all talk about, oh, look at how they score, look at how they skate, look at how well they make the passes, look at their vision, blah, 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 blah. But nobody ever talks about, hey, how good is this guy at the faceoff dot?
Well, for sure. And for him especially, and others, in the later rounds, that's something that then teams are going to start to look at. Obviously he doesn't have the skill of some of these centers that we'll get to in this and later on in this podcast. But once you get those depth guys, which I think Richie will be, then you start saying, hey, maybe we need to look at the face-off dot, accuracy, and how often is he winning draws? Can he kill penalties? All those other type things that these elite level talents, earlier on in the draft are going to be, looked at and overlooking some of those things because of their sure offensive talent. Those things a team thinks, will come in time and they can teach them later on, but you can't teach, how many goals are going in the net with some of these guys. So just offensive ability alone.
Exactly.
But what do you say? So that was our honorable mention guy, a guy that is going to be there later in the draft, and that would be a great pickup. But let's get into our starting 5. What do you think?
Okay.
Our top 5.
Sounds like
Why don't you kick
idea.
it off?
All right, I'll kick it off. So for me, in the number 5 slot as far as centers are going, and this was a young man that Lance has written an article about, or has written some about him as well in the past. And this is from the Moose Jaw Warriors from the WHL. 52 games played, 21 goals, 38 assists for 59 points. And we are talking about center Braden Yeager. And when I remember the article that you wrote, because we did a show about the prospects that were coming up and everything. And I remember you talking about this guy, and we talked about him and a few other names that were on that list. But I really, really like this young man. I like his game. He's already there. He's already there. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's got much to go and do and prove. Do you know what I'm saying? That's who number 5 on my list of top 5 centers that will fly off the boards this coming summer in the draft, Braden Yeager.
Okay. All right. That's all well and good. I really like him. Obviously, as you said, I wrote on him before. His stats this year, like you said, 22 goals, 39 assists, 61 points. He's averaging 1.15 point per game right now. He's a plus 11. he's projecting to finish the season with 28 goals, 50 assists, and 78 points and a plus 14, which is good, right? I think he would, definitely be higher on some people's list. But last year, I think he finished better. He had a better season last year than he is right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. His rookie season, I think he really struck out there and made a name for himself. And, last year he finished with 34 goals and 25 assists for 59 points and was a plus 18. So I think he has one of the best shots in the draft, and he will be a star in the NHL for sure in a year or two in my mind. But I think he needs to bulk up a little bit. I think he's a little skinny right now. So hopefully, over the summer he can get into the weight room and stuff like that. But great pick for sure. He's one of my favorites. But my number 5 guy has got to be. Took me a long time really to hone in on my 5. Like I was batting around a couple different names here. It was really a hard choice. So I was mulling over guys, maybe like an Oliver Moore, who plays for the United States National Development Program, speedster, really big speedster, or the Slovakian-born center who everybody has kind of high right now, Dalibor Dvorsky. I probably butchered that a little bit, but whatever. But I don't like how much Dvorsky missed the net all the time. When I was watching tape on him and watching games, he just wasn't as pinpoint or accurate as some of these other players. And I think a lot of his given success or his draft stock has really got to go back to the other Slovakian players that were drafted last year, in Slafkovsky and Nimchek and Messner. Later on by the Canadians, I think they drafted him. So, I didn't pick either one of those guys. Who I really went after here was Riley Heidt from WHL's Prince George Cougars, right? He's a 17-year-old kid, 5'11", 179 pounds. He's from Canada. He's got a left-hand shot. He's got 50 games played in on the season right now with 21 goals, 48 assists for 69 points. He's averaging 1.38 points per game right now. The only thing I don't like about him is he's a minus 15. Yeah. All right. But he's playing in the WHL, which if you look at the names on some of those rosters on the WHL, it's kind of scary. So I kind of give him a little bit of leeway right there. Okay.
I'm with you on that.
He's projected to finish the season with about 29, 30 goals, 65 assists, and about 94 points. When I think of him, I think of if Travis Konechny played center. All right. He's a high energy guy that's will absolutely be a spark plug for any team's offense that drafts him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'll agree with that.
I already said he needs to get a little bit better defensively, but what he can do, he's a highlight reel player. He every night he's gonna make a play. He's gonna put a point up on the board, whether it be an assist, whether it be a goal. He's gonna be there, and I think he'll be drafted in the top 15 this year, somewhere around there.
Okay. I can understand that. And I looked at that name as well too, but the negative 18 was a little bit, that's kind of why I went with Jaeger at 5 instead of him. Because I looked at him too, and I was just kind of like going back and forth between those two names, and I just went, oh, okay. And then the other one that I was kind of throwing around in there too, whom I think is kind of right around that same level. You know what I mean? Actually, the next two I think are going to be right around that same level, right? And I have for number 4, right on our list, I have Ryan Leonard from the United States National under 18 team. Say that fast 3 times. Yeah. 37 games played. He's at 30 goals with 28 assists and 58 points, right? Projected to be out there pretty good at close to 50 goals, right? So I just like his game. And he was somebody that you turned me on to as well. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So but it's kind of strange because these are marquee names. These are, I would say, maybe, I hate to keep using the word generational talent. I'll just say marquee names, marquee
Yeah, I
talents.
would call him a generational talent.
Right.
He's going to be a great goal scorer for
Yeah.
sure. He's going to be a great goal scorer. And I didn't have him on my list, Steele, because of the fact that he's one of those guys, like you said earlier, is kind of a forward. Not he's a play center sometimes, but he's been playing with a pretty darn good player that we'll mention here soon enough, and he's been playing a lot more wing because of that other player, and I think he's going to project to be a better winger than
Leonard?
he is a center. Yeah, because he can beat bang around the boards and stuff like that. That's the only reason I didn't have him on my list.
Okay.
Okay. So
who do you have at number 4?
So who I have at number 4 is we already talked about Braden Yeager. I'm really high on him. I think he has one of the best shots in this draft class. And, I like a guy that if I'm drafting this high, where this guy is supposed to be projected to be well inside the top 10 or, at least the top 15, I want a guy that can really go out there and get you a point when you need it. And I think this guy is it. Like I said, he needs to put on a little bit of weight, but he is going to get that shot on net, that you or me wouldn't even probably take that shot, but he's going to put it on net. And I don't think he's met a shot that he doesn't like. All right. And I think that's
pretty high praise from the great Lance Green right there, folks. I'm here to tell you.
I think every team needs one of those players, right?
I'm with you.
It's just going to get pucks on net, regardless if it goes in or not. That's why you got those big, strong guy, power forwards in front of the net to beat and bang and get a rebound or a deflection, right? So that's what I have at number 4.
Okay. Wow. Okay, so we're kind of similarly thinking, you know what I mean? Like we always seem to be on the same page when it comes to a lot of these guys. I think the center one is going to be the one where we're going to see most of the similarities, and I think once we get past the center, well, these are the obvious ones. I think we're going to see some differences as who we think is going to be our top 5s as we get later on down in the shows, you know what I mean? So, how about if you jump and go with your number 3 as far as top 5 centers that we feel should be highly considered for this year's draft?
Yes. So my number 3 is Will Smith from the United States National Development Program. He's 17 years old currently. He's 6 foot tall, 172 pounds. He's from the great state of Massachusetts, who produces many NHL players. He's a right-hand shot, and this year I broke it down against colleges, NCAA teams, and stuff like that, because they play a little bit of everybody.
Everybody, yeah.
The national team does, and they played against majority of NCAA teams this year. In 40 games, he has 28 goals, 45 assists for 73 points, and he's a 1.82 points per game player with a plus 38. That is a great defensive center all around, right? But they're also playing some USHL teams. So in 12 of those games, he scored 8 goals, 14 assists for 22 points, and he's still averaging about the same 1.83 point per game player in that sense against USHL teams with a plus 11. Now he's committed to Boston College, so he's probably going to go there and play at least a year. So that's something to think about too. If you're thinking about drafting him within the top 5 or 8 or something like that, where he's projected to go, you got to know that he's made his mind up and he's at least going to go to Boston College for a year. He's committed, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So overall, he's not a guy that's going to overly impress you with his amazing plays or anything like that, like some of these other guys that are ahead of him are going to do. But I think he's going to be a solid top 6 player in the NHL. He's going to be a top 2 center. he's the type of guy that makes everybody around him better. All right. And depending on, how next season goes, I really do think he could turn pro just after a year. So
Yeah, okay, I got you. Because he already has the. Okay, look, it's very rare that you see one so young come up through the ranks so quickly. But with the player of Smith's caliber of skill and ability to not only put the biscuit in the back of the basket, but also to be more of, has the vision, has the able to make people around him better, able to take those key face-offs in key parts of the game and things like that. And he's entrusted to do so more so as the season has gone along. So I'm with you on that. I think, you're going to have to take that into consideration. He's going to go to university for that first year and get that under his belt. You know what I mean? And I'm all for that. We would like to see guys come out and play right away, but if he gets that experience and then we see how the Boston program has completely immersed in elevation of how good they are and the type of players that they're producing and the NHL players they're producing, and what it means to go to Boston or Boston College or any one of those colleges up there. You know what I mean? Like I was just watching some of the Beanpot tournament. You know what I mean? Well, that's some good hockey there, folks. I don't care, but
right.
I'm with you on the Will Smith.
Is he your number 3 guy?
He's my number 3 guy. So see, we're all thinking on the same page, right? There you go. So that's why I didn't really get into him much. I just kind of agreed because he was my number 3 as well.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think this is the guy that pushed Leonard over to wing in power play situations and other things like that. So somebody as good as Leonard is, this guy's maybe better in, like you said, the face-off dot and all those key situations that you just mentioned. So definitely a great player is going to be there. So somebody's going to luck out and get him for sure.
I think so too. And I don't think if you were a general manager, you would already have some of this information in front of you. You would already be knowing some of this information. You should have your scouting department already giving you this kind of stuff. They should be saying, hey, you need to be looking at this guy. So, Lance, the writer extraordinaire, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, who do you have for number 2?
Well, I think it's got to be, Adam from Michigan, man. He's just been on fire in the NCAA this year.
Okay, so I was watching. We're talking about Adam Fantilli, and he's my number 2 as well.
Yeah,
and I was watching some. Just because I follow all this college hockey and everything, and it said, just college hockey, and it was him getting a little testy and feisty and getting some penalty minutes there with somebody getting all up in his grill, and I'm like, ooh,
it's going to transcend nice.
Like that. That's a little grit. That's a little sauce, man. Look, we all know who the number 1 draft pick's gonna be, okay? But I would not have a problem if he was number 1 as well.
Yeah, 1A here for sure. He's 18 years old. He's 6'2", 187 pounds. He's from Canada. He shoots left. This year in 25 games played for the Wolverines, he has 18 goals, 29 assists for 47 points. He's
40 penalty minutes too.
Yes. He's a 1.88 point per game player. He's a plus 18 at the World Juniors. He had 7 games played, 2 goals, 3 assists for 5 points, and he was even. Yeah. All right. He currently leads the NCAA in assists, points, and points per game. He is, like Steel said, a big body, physical player who should be ready for the NHL next season. I don't think he has anything else to prove in his freshman year in the NCAA. He's already the best player in college hockey right now. And, I can't wait to see this guy in an NHL uniform. He loves to get in the dirty areas. Nice. He loves to lay people out. He loves to stand in front of the net. He isn't afraid to have the puck on his stick. He is just ready. And you saw that the year prior when he played for Chicago and at the USHL level. And, he was just phenomenal, breaking records in the USHL. And then he goes to the NCAA this year and is doing the same, leading the league this year. So a phenomenal player and anybody who doesn't, any team that's, in that lottery and doesn't get that first overall pick, who we all know who it's going to be, who we'll talk about in just a second, but, has to settle for number 2 overall. They're still going to be a darn good player.
Darn. Right. Oh, darn. I have to settle for Adam Fantilli. Oh, darn.
Right. Could be worse. Could be worse players.
Yeah, wait. Oh, gosh, could be worse. You could have to settle for Will Smith. Oh, darn. Gosh,
right.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm with you on that, man. Fantilli definitely showed out in the World Juniors. He displayed his wares quite well. I love the grittiness of what he showed in the game the other night, where it was last night, where got up in the face, had a little penalty minutes, had a little pushing and shoving, a little, hat flies off and stuff, So we're all down with that, how we are here at SteelFlyers All Sports Network. We like that good, gritty player that likes to get in the dirty areas and do the things that nobody likes to do. And Adam is one of those guys. And I would not have a problem if he went number 1 or 2, either way. I mean, this is the first year, I think, in a long time where the NHL draft is going to have in the top 5 picks are going to be those marquee talent players that are going to be, once they're drafted into that city, are going to make that team relevant just because they're there. Okay. And we haven't had a draft like that for how long? Well, what was the last one? When Crosby was drafted? There was a couple of names in there.
There's definitely a couple of names in that one. But this draft is deep. And we're just talking about centers today, folks. We're going to get into some other players that will make this draft in other episodes where we cover different positions and guys that are also going to make this draft just insanely deep. This is the one where everybody's trading picks and getting picks for this year, for the past couple of years, because they knew this one was going to be the one to get some players.
Because this list of talent, this is just the centers that we're talking about here. We haven't even gotten into anybody else yet. So Lance, I think we both agree on the number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the consensus of everybody. Yeah. Regardless of where you are in the sports world, I think everybody realizes that Connor Bedard is going to be the number 1 draft pick in this year's NHL draft.
Yeah, not just the number 1 center in the draft, but the number 1 player. Head over feet there. He is amazing player. He is that generational talent. I do believe that you kind of use loosely, and you don't want to put that on anybody, but I would put that on him.
I would too.
Yeah, he's playing in the WHL right now for the Regina Pats. He's 17 years old. He's 5'10", 185 pounds.
Wait. Just stop right there, right? He is 17.
Yeah, 17.
All right. Go ahead.
So he shoots right. Stats this year. You ready for this? No, you're probably not. 39 games played because he went to World Juniors and everything like that. He has played in less games than everybody else because he was there. 39 games played, 48 goals, 48 assists, and 96 points already. All right? Wow. That is 2.46 points per game he's averaging right now. And he's a plus 32. Okay?
And it's 14 less games than everybody else in the WHL has played. He's played 14 less games.
Yeah, and he didn't even need those 14 games. So he's projecting right now to play in He's projecting right now to finish the season with 70 goals, 70 assists, and 140 points. All right. Still at that same point per game level. World Juniors. Let's talk World Juniors right now. He played in 7 games, just like Fantilli did, right? But these numbers are just a little bit better. 9 goals, 14 assists for 23 points in 7 games, folks. That's 3.28 points per game that he scored at World Juniors.
And we're
That's
talking
pretty
about
good.
and we're talking about some of the best of the young talent today
All playing against each other.
playing in that tournament. And this kid lit it up for 9 goals and 23 points in 7 piddly games.
Plus 14 in 7 games.
Geez.
All right, so let's take this a little bit further, okay? He's 17, right? He's 17. He already has won World Junior Gold 3 times. All right, that means he won it 15, 16, and then again at 17. All right, he won
and
World
he'll
Juniors
be eligible.
at 15.
And he'll be eligible for next year to play in it next year too.
He can play until he's 20.
Oh, till you're 20. Okay, all right.
Yeah, until he's 20.
You're 18.
So he could have a whole slew of them, but he's not. He's going to be an NHL player next year. All right, so let's put some more comparisons in this, okay? Folks, to put it more into perspective, Connor McDavid, who's considered the best player in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
He only put up 3 goals and 8 assists for 11 points in the same amount of games at his last World Juniors that he played in, and he was a +8. All right, 11 points versus 23. All right,
3 goals versus 9 goals.
Yep, that means Connor McDavid only averaged 1.57 points per game back in 14-15 when he last played at World Juniors instead of 3.28. All right, to say teams are excited about this kid is an understatement.
Slightly.
He is a star the minute he steps on the ice, okay, in an NHL uniform, and he is a player that you for sure can build a franchise around for the next 10 to 15 years. He is the next big thing in the NHL.
He is. And at 17, my gosh, the ceiling for this young man is just, I mean, even if he's at his ceiling, right? Even if he doesn't get any better, teams would still kill for this kind of production. And the fact that he's defensively responsible at such a young age, that goes to show you that he's had some good coaching along the way, and that he's also a really, smart player.
Complete player, for sure.
What I think is going to probably happen, and this is kind of just my thoughts on this, he'll be drafted by a team, and he'll do what they'll do that 10 game trial run for him, and then he'll never leave.
Oh no, I don't even think they're going to even consider that. I think what else does he have to prove? Is he
committed somewhere for college?
No, he would go back to the WHL if he had to. And what else does he have to prove in the WHL?
No, I'm with you. No, I get it. I'm with you, but I'm just saying, it's like, if you were drafting this player as a general manager, right, of your team, would you be instantly doing exactly what you said, building franchise around him and thrusting him into that role right away, day one?
Yes, because he can handle it. What in the world does he have to prove if you send him back to the WHL? What is he going to score? 200 points in a season? Like, it's.
I mean, yeah, I'm with you.
Like, he's not. Those players down there aren't even at his level. You could argue now he hasn't stepped foot on the NHL ice of bigger guys and more physical, whatever. He is only 5'10", so, but he has the skill to get around people. As he's shown every night, it's a highlight reel play you could put together just of his top plays. this guy is going to step on the NHL ice, and he's not going to come off until he tells the team that he's ready to step off 20 years from now. All right. Like,
I mean, no, I'm with you on that, but see, here's my thinking on this, right? Because he is so young, right? Because he's going to come out and be so young. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Maybe I would be a little too overly cautious, I guess. I don't know. I mean, if you say that he can do that, it would be nice to see him try to bulk up then over the summer. Do you know what I mean? And we also know that the other thing too is that, yeah, he's 5'10", but he's only 17. So he's got at least another 3 to 4 more years of growth up and out. You know what I mean? So
well, he's already 185 pounds, and for somebody that's 5'10", that's pretty good size on him. You know what I mean? So hopefully, he'll gain an inch or two, and hopefully be about 6 foot and 200 pounds or something like that in a year or two time. But in the meantime, he's so fast and he's so elusive that I don't think it'll matter much for him, because he is on that next level type player.
Okay, so
teams are going to be trying to figure him out for a year or two.
You would just hand him the reins and say, "All right, here you go. Let's fly." Right?
Yeah,
All right.
I'm not for rushing players, but there's no reason that he doesn't have to be rushed. He should, he could, if the draft was today, he could start tomorrow.
Okay, well, if the draft was today, and let's just play a little advocate here. I want to in the last couple minutes of this show. Let's play a little advocacy here. So say he goes to either Arizona or Chicago, because they're the 2 worst teams right now, right? So he goes to Arizona. I think he's definitely going to be in the uniform right away, day one. Yeah. You think?
I mean, you got Columbus that's stinking it up too. So there's any of those teams.
Okay.
He's going to be day one on there. He's going to be that billboard guy. He's going to be selling jerseys. He's going to be helping that franchise in so many ways. You know what I mean? He's going to be filling stadiums just to see him develop, at the NHL level. And
I'd pay to go see him.
He's going to, yeah. And I would too. So.
There you go. You heard it from the two right there, right? We would go pay to see him. Well, Lance, I'll tell you what, I think we got a great list. I'm going to start with my number 5 and go to number 1, and you do the same. For me, number 5, Braden Yeager. Number 4, Ryan Leonard. Number 3, Will Smith. Number 2, Adam Fantilli. And number 1, Connor Bedard as our top 5 centers for Steel. And Lance, your list?
Yeah, 5, Riley Heidt. 4, Braden Yeager. 3, Will Smith. 2, Adam Fantilli. And of course, Connor Bedard, number 1. Obviously.
Well, there you go. These names we know will be household names come next season in the NHL for sure at some point in time. And this is just the centers. So, Lance, I think this was a really great insight into these guys. And I think this was a really great show. And why don't you tell the folks where we can find you and where we can get all your great stuff?
Sure, guys. Follow us and catch all our Prospect Watch videos with some great young players that we have on, and more to come like this one at SteelFlyers.com. And you can always find me on Twitter at Lance.Green39.
Awesome. You can catch all the great stuff like this show, Prospect Watch, on the Steel Flyers All Sports Network at SteelFlyers.com, along with the Hockey Writers Inc., Peyton on the Radio, the Pearl of Wisdom Show, and the Steel Flyers podcast, and, of course, the Hockey Writers Inc. So, thank you all very much for checking us out. This is the Prospect Watch with our top 5 centers for the NHL Draft of 2023. We'll catch you all in the next episode of Prospect Watch.